Okay, so following on from my YieldNodes update yesterday about the announcement regarding YieldNodes Pro, I just wanted to go over the interview that was done yesterday with Crypto Yields UK and just go through exactly what we know now and what we can expect. So firstly, I guess we should go over the how this has happened. So if we look, this is just a small selection of the Disseminate coins, which is what YieldNodes was masternoding. And you can see from these charts that these are looking pretty terrible, to say the least. You know, Sapphire, which was their main coin here, losing 93% of its value in the last 7 days. So that's a massive blow out of the lot. I mean, like I say, this is their main sort of baby, and that has now gone to pretty much nothing. So that's quite scary to see when you consider the whole project as a whole. And if you remember, I did a masternoding spreadsheet here, which basically told you exactly how you could set up your own masternodes. And I do have some shared masternodes set up myself, and you can see the values of these, or the cost to set up these nodes has now dropped substantially, whereas before a Sapphire node was well over £130,000, it's now down to just £8,000. So I'd highly recommend not going into any of the Disseminate masternodable coins here. You've still got some other coins on this list which are still okay, they're not part of the Disseminate group. So these three at the bottom, for example, are still okay, but I would not touch any of the other Disseminate coins at the moment. So anyway, let's get on to the things that we know and that we don't know about what's happened and what was mentioned, like I say, in this interview here. So the things that we know is that everything has been paused, that's withdrawals and deposits in YieldNodes, and that is going to be the case until the new system that they are planning, this YieldNodes Pro, is up and running. So that means no withdrawals and no deposits for potentially at least 1 year. So that's a massive amount of time, really. But what Steve does say in the interview is that he doesn't want people getting their hopes up that it's going to be fixed and sorted in a few months. So they're going to say it's at least 1 year from now. Anything that comes in before that obviously will be a bonus. Now, he's also mentioned that the withdrawals that were meant to be processed and paid out in October are still locked up for a lot of people. So it sounds like YieldNodes basically used Binance to actually do their transfers, and Binance have locked their funds, and hopefully they are going to get freed up at some point. So I imagine those people who did request withdrawals and didn't receive them yet, they should get them, but there's no ETA on when that's going to happen. I imagine they're in talks with Binance to try and sort that out. So Steve mentioned in this interview that they may well open emergency withdrawals again in the coming weeks or so, but that's not 100% certain, and that would be if there are any large investors that want to come and buy up any of these emergency withdrawals and, you know, help fund the transfer across to the new system. So next thing that was mentioned was that YieldNodes currently only has 10% above its capital remaining. So previously they were quite proud of the fact they had at least 30% on top of their investments that people had put into YieldNodes. So they always had a nice little buffer for those sort of down months where they could dip into that fund if they needed to keep things above the 5% monthly guarantee. So that being dropped down to currently about 10% is quite worrying, and that is why they said that they have done this and put a stop on everything for the time being. Now they're blaming the market conditions, and we've seen from those graphs earlier that that is obviously the reason that this has happened. I think most people probably didn't even know YieldNodes Pro was a thing. I certainly didn't. I'm not going to pretend I did. I'd never heard of YieldNodes Pro until the email came out the other day, so I knew that they were obviously planning on bigger things in the future, but YieldNodes Pro wasn't something I'd heard mentioned previously. So I think along with many other people, that's probably why this has come over as a shock, because we weren't really aware that this was going to be a thing, at least not in this sort of short time frame. The one thing he has said as well is that they're bringing assets in from outside of YieldNodes, so they're not using the YieldNodes money to purchase those assets. It's some external investor that they've got coming in who's got the 300 million worth of external assets to bring in. And then at some point that's going to be exchanged along with your masternoded balance to become this NFT. So these NFTs are going to have different values depending on how much you had masternoded and how long you've obviously been with YieldNodes. And these are the things that are going to be backed by these real world assets. Now he's saying that they will have a stable value. So hopefully that is the case. And that also that they could appreciate over time in value. So that's yet to be seen. Obviously, we don't know how things in these external real world assets are going to go. So solar panels and things, I guess, are always going to be needed. But it's obviously an unknown at this time. So we're just going to have to wait and see with that one. So next thing I want to bring up is this 5% per quarter business. So he has cleared that up, and basically it's definitely 5% per quarter. So you're not going to get 5% every month, which is then paid on the quarter. And the reason being behind this, and something that I thought seemed a bit sneaky at first, but it actually is correct. Basically, people were wondering why they can't get their masternodes balance back if they didn't receive their guaranteed 5% per month, as per the original sort of agreement that was on the YieldNodes site of getting at least 5%. And if it fell below that, you would get your money back. But this is basically meaning you will get your 5% at least every 3 months, obviously once per quarter. It's not ever going to fall behind 5% for 3 months in a row. You will just get 5% every quarter for the time being. And obviously that will potentially change, I imagine, in the future when this YieldNodes Pro business gets set up. So other than that, he did say that he's going to try and have another call in 2 weeks. I think possibly he should probably have a call with someone else. I know Crypto Yields UK has done a lot of work with YieldNodes, and that's great, and his videos are excellent. I just think it'd be good to have a sort of I'm not saying biased, I just mean a sort of more neutral person in the YieldNodes scene to have an interview with Steve. I'm not saying myself, I just mean someone who hasn't done the audit, someone who hasn't got all the gear, and just someone who's going to be more neutral and potentially ask questions that are going to be harder for Stephen to answer. Now, I'm not trying to trick him. I believe Steve is doing everything he can. You can see how stressed he is in the video, and it's horrible to see that. And I know he's obviously been getting lots of death threats and all sorts of horrible messages coming through to him, which no one will wish on anyone. And yeah, you can tell really this wasn't really his choice to do this. I think it was forced, a sort of forced hand. By the look of their coins, they had no other choice than to just stop what was happening and try and resort to saving people's money before it all disappeared. I guess in theory they could have just said, right, that's it, we're shutting down, and refunded everyone's money and just take their 10% capital that they had left and just split up amongst themselves. But hopefully this is the right decision for everyone involved. And yeah, sadly, all we can do is wait for any more news that comes out on this. But yeah, hopefully the NFT thing is cleared up a bit. It's still obviously unclear as to how it's all going to work in practice. But in theory, your NFT will be for your masternode balance. So in my case, it would be around 20,000 euros worth of NFT, which is hooked up into these external assets. So I don't know whether it'll be a single one or whether it's shared amongst multiple assets. These are all questions that obviously can be asked in another interview or AMA, because yeah, I think more than anything now they need to keep the communication going strong and make sure that people aren't left in the dark as to what's happening. So I hope this was useful. It's just a quick roundup really, because I know that the interview was quite a long one, so hopefully this helped. Any other questions you have, let me know and I will do my best to answer them if I know the answer. If not, obviously get onto their Discords. They've got various Discords for their different coins and ask on there. And I know all the mods have been, I presume, stressed out trying to reply to everyone's messages and all the FUD flying around at the moment. But yeah, so it's not a rug pull, even though when you look at these coins and their values, you would expect it to be one. This is not their doing. They haven't, purposely done this. This is the result of people abusing the system. And even admittedly, he said that people just aren't buying coins anymore because of the market, people just selling. So yeah, it's sad to see this sea of red and these 80% losses in the last week. But that is crypto for you, I'm afraid, and I have been hit as much as everyone else has. Like I say, I've got my masternodes, shared masternodes here, which are gone. I had 20,000 in YieldNodes, which I was trying to get my investment back here. I managed to get about 10,000 back in total. So I'm down at least $11,500, I'd say. So yeah, it's going to hit everyone slightly differently, but hopefully we will come out of this better off in the long run, but we'll just have to wait and see exactly how that goes. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.